welcome to 107.1 WPGU. I'm Nithin, Reddy. Brendan's usually here on the Monday, Wednesday crew, but we got a special guest, Carson, Gourdie.
I'm back.
He's back. It's been how long has it been? When was the last time?
Too long. Since we got sent home for COVID.
So March, yeah.
It's been March.
Wow. That's a long time. I mean,
I know, and there has been a lot of sports to watch since. Now it's finally starting to pick up, but I'm just glad to be on.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on too. I mean, I've had Gabby, Josh, Brendan, first time with you, and I'm excited for it because we're going to be talking a lot of Illinois football as they played Purdue in what looked like it was going to be a blowout early in the third quarter, and then Illinois fought back, made it 31-24 game. Looked like they might score to tie it up with about 2 minutes left. And then 3 straight incompletions and a check down to Mike Epstein, and Purdue basically controlled the game. Carson, what were some of your instant reactions from that game?
Illinois is back to not being a winning football team. So if you go back to last year, they have now lost 5 consecutive games. But in all seriousness, considering the circumstances, I wasn't that disappointed with the game. I mean, you're playing Karan Taylor. Like, no Illinois fan has pretty much ever heard of him until, Matt Robinson's injury. And he came in there, don't get me wrong, 2 interceptions, brutal, fumble at the 3-yard line, ended up being the difference in the game. But, he was able to expose what Brandon Peters couldn't do against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Karan Taylor dished out the ball to probably one that, we have an underrated pass-catching group. Josh Monterbebe, Hightower, great tight ends. We got Luke Ford, Monterbebe, Barker, and he was able to dish the ball around and really show that this Illinois team could be productive under a Rod Smith offense. And the running backs came alive. I mean, we had 170 yards rushing. That didn't happen against Wisconsin. Granted, Wisconsin's a great football program, but Karan Taylor, a 4-string, was able to do what Brandon Peters couldn't do against Wisconsin. So I feel like, honestly, I'm not saying Lovey's the savior of the Illinois football program. This program is not inept. I mean, we can potentially win if we just click on all cylinders.
Yeah, so me and Brendan have kind of been on this where they seem like a 3-4 win team. And especially after that Wisconsin game, we actually kind of had lower expectations just because Graham Mertz comes in, dominates, and you lose 45-7 without your offense doing anything. There were definitely some positives from this game. But one of the concerns that still is happening with this team is the secondary, because Aiden O'Connell just destroyed that Illinois secondary. I mean, he had 6 incompletions. I'm pretty sure he was 13 for 14 at one point. He was phenomenal. Granted, Purdue has one of the best passing offenses in the Big Ten, but it's hard to get anything going offensively if every possession Purdue is just driving the football downfield.
Oh, 100%. It's 3rd and 11. Stop them, stop Bell, get the ball back. Everybody in the well, there was actually nobody in the stadium.
You can say everyone in the stadium. There's not a lot.
But everybody at home pretty much knew Bell was going to get that ball. Yeah. And he made a good grab.
Oh, it's a phenomenal throw, phenomenal catch.
It is. The secondary, look, Lovey's this defensive mastermind, and we haven't had a consistent defensive presence. We're productive because we get the turnovers. Yep. And Lovey's kind of right. I'm starting to think they actually get turnovers because of talent, not just because of luck. But, God, the broken coverage is just ridiculous. You're always going to be behind the 8 ball with Illinois this year.
Yeah, and having, a 50-yard game in their first game when Mertz really was game managing, but he was playing great.
Mertz was just efficient. I mean, he didn't throw 400 yards, but they stopped throwing in the second half.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the guy had 4 touchdowns in the first half. It was
20 for 21. It was a dominant performance, and then O'Connell comes out, throws for 371 yards, a more traditional going off stat line. I do think there are plenty of positives, and we've already brought that up, because the offense with Karan Taylor looked great, and I think it should get better with Brandon Peters whenever he comes back. It looks like 3 weeks because of the 21-day rule.
That's the thing with Peters. terrible against Wisconsin. But if you look at the stats last year, he's a good quarterback. I mean, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Especially down the stretch.
Down the stretch, has good legs. But, Illinois, he just kind of slipped. He's missing a step. But, this was our best offensive performance since Michigan State last year.
Yeah.
I mean, Iowa shut us down. Northwestern, I don't like talking about Northwestern. Wisconsin, Cal. I like Rod Smith. And what Rod Smith wants, when he was at West Virginia, when he was at Michigan, he had Pat White, or great West Virginia quarterback, Denard Robinson, best rushing quarterback in the history of college football.
Ooh, interesting.
Oh, for sure.
Not for sure.
Oh, he had 1,800 yards his sophomore year. That guy was insane.
He was insane, but there's a lot of great
Who do you think's better?
I mean, okay, Tebow's got to be in the argument.
Tebow's a grinder. I'll say that.
But that's part of it. He's also going up against SEC defenses. Granted, Big Ten defenses are still very good, but Cam Newton's got to be in there.
Denard.
There's the Dennis Dixons of the world. Denard's up there.
Denard almost had 2,000 yards his sophomore year as a quarterback. And
that was the year they beat Notre Dame, right?
They beat. I think you're thinking of a different year, but Denard had Notre Dame's number. That was the one thing he did have. But Rod Smith, he likes these scramblers. He loves Isaiah Williams. I don't like Isaiah Williams because he can't throw the ball. But
he's a young guy, freshman.
Oh, come on! I've seen him throw. I've never seen him raise the ball. I mean, it always hits the ground. But he loves Isaiah Williams. That's his boy. So when he gets a guy like Taylor, Karan, it's a similar guy. So that they're running around. They did a lot of rollouts, option plays. Good, I'd like Karan because a lot of the times he did a good job of finding Hightower, and I feel like Hightower is gonna be he's such an underrated talent. I don't know. I really like the way the offense was. And I think they're going to be able to replicate it against Minnesota because Minnesota's
look bad.
They're terrible on defense.
Yeah,
I mean, PJ Fleck, he needs to step it up. I mean, they're in trouble. I could see this game being a 42-41 barn burner.
Yeah, it's going to be a close game because Minnesota had high expectations coming to the year, top 20 team, and then
I thought they were going to win the West.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't a huge jump and. They've been terrible since then. Going back to Karan Taylor, I mean, I liked a lot of what I saw. The problem was it felt very Jameis Winston-like, where he makes all these great plays, and then those 2 or 3 plays where you're just shaking your head. The fumble looked, it was so frustrating because you're backed up, and that's the one thing you can't do. Just get the 1-yard loss if that's what you're going to take. And he does that, and then the 2 picks are, one is when you're driving and it looks like you're going to get at least a field goal out of the drive, and the other one, another one when you're sort of driving and I'm thinking of the second one. The first one, you're backed up and then you give Purdue a chance. It's those kinds of plays that will not lead to winning because Purdue isn't a great defense.
No, they're not.
But they had a great offense.
Here's the thing. I want to be mad if Brandon Peters had a fumble at the 3-yard line, another fumble, 2 interceptions, and was fumbling handoffs, I'd be furious. But at the same time, because of a global pandemic, we had to play a 4-string quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, if Brandon Peters played against Purdue and he just played competent, we're going to win that game. Because Purdue had 21 points off of turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, our defense didn't play great, but it did play better down the stretch. I mean, we just gave so much life to Purdue. The interception, there was nobody around the Purdue defender.
Purdue kind of stopped playing, though, in that fourth quarter because they had that 31-10 lead, and it felt like the game was over. Then Illinois gets a touchdown drive, gets a stop, gets a touchdown drive, and you're back in it right there. And sometimes that complacency sets in. I still think Purdue probably wins that game just because the way their offense was clicking, I mean, it was unbelievable. And we saw it previous week against Iowa when they upset them. I think this Purdue team's legit. And I don't know if that means they're going to win 6 games, but they're going to be competing constantly with Big Ten opponents.
You look at it, Iowa's having a down year. Mm-hmm. Wisconsin's still the cream of the top. I mean, they are good. Yeah, Wisconsin's good. But
we've only seen 1 game out of it.
Are they even going to play this week?
Who knows? Because they're
determining on Tuesday. I mean, if they don't feel comfortable in playing, they're disqualified from the Big Ten championship. because you have to play 7 regular season games before you can get to the conference title. So there's a backdoor chance that Purdue could make it just because they did play enough games.
Yeah, by default.
Northwestern's good. They are a solid team.
Northwestern's defense is really good.
They are, and now they have an offense too with Peyton Ramsey.
Yeah.
That was the one thing last year. Their defense wasn't bad, but they scored like 6 points per game before the Illinois game.
Yeah.
Like Pat Fitzgerald, he's too good of a coach to have back-to-back down years. I think Northwestern is the serious dark horse to steal the West this year if Wisconsin can't play.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that's a realistic possibility with what we've seen so far. Wisconsin looks so dominant in that first game, and then you get those 22 positive tests, and your season might be done just because of that. You need, I think it's 6 games is required to make the college football playoff. They're a top 10 team now, so they're looking to potentially sneak in to that college football playoff, and every game matters.
I know, but I have a hard time believing that if they go 6-0 with no conference title, they're not getting it.
Exactly.
Like they'll get a Cotton Bowl or something, but
yeah. I mean, it's one of the weird things about this year that resume is hard. We thought it would be more clear because you're just playing conference opponents and there's no cupcake walk-in games to start the season when like Alabama plays the Citadel.
Illinois could use 3 cupcake games.
They could use 3 cupcake games to try to get in the bowl. But this is one of those seasons where you have to play these games or else who can tell you 8 games is not enough as it is.
No, it's not.
6 games is just it's
the Pac-12 shouldn't even be allowed. I mean,
yeah, I don't understand why they started so late because they could have started 2 weeks
exactly.
ago.
People are hyping up Oregon. I don't see it.
No, they don't have Herbert, and
they could have 7-0. I mean, like I don't know too much about the Pac-12 to be honest. I mean, Stanford's been struggling for a while. I know USC's talented, but they always lose a game they shouldn't. It's Oregon's division. I mean, it's Oregon's league to lose.
But as you said, like 6 games and then a 7th championship game, that's probably not enough.
No, it probably isn't. But that's going to make it interesting of who's going to be the playoff because you got Alabama, you got Clemson. Even if
they can win this week,
even if they lose, they're going to have a rematch with Notre Dame with a healthy Trevor Lawrence. So they're going to be in. Buckeyes, as long as they don't like completely just fall down the stretch, they're going to be in. So it's going to be interesting to see who the 4th is because Georgia's going to have 2 losses. The SEC's like destroyed each other besides Alabama.
Big 12 is terrible. There's no undefeated teams
Big
left.
12's not. I mean, like, no, they're not going to put in Texas if they go 9-2.
Texas isn't going to go.
They're probably going to, like, Wisconsin seemed like the built-in, okay, you barely lost Ohio State, you're in. Mm-hmm. I could see Notre Dame. There you go.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's only loss is in the ACC title game.
This is all contingent, though, on teams winning out other than the losable games, I guess, that you might call them.
I can't see Alabama losing a game this year.
I don't think they will. I mean, that Georgia performance was incredible. Mac Jones looks unbelievable.
He's very good. He's very good. And he showed it even last year against Michigan, what he could do. I mean, Alabama's hungry this year. It's been like an eternity for them not winning a national title. It's only been 3 years. But that offense, their defense isn't that great relative to other standards, like Alabama standards. But that offense is terrific with Mac Jones.
Is Georgia in a different division as Alabama?
Georgia's in the East.
Oh, so they will probably have a rematch.
They could. They got a big game this week. It's Florida, Georgia. Florida has a really good offense.
Kyle Trask.
That
guy's good.
Dan Mullen knows how to coach quarterbacks.
Yeah, he does. Dak
Tebow,
Prescott,
Dak,
Nick Fitzgerald.
I was trying to think of him. Fitzgerald was great under him. So he's a good system quarterback. And Florida, they had that tough loss to A&M, but A&M's starting to look really good. So the winner of this game is almost guaranteed to play Alabama in the SEC title game, which Alabama's still going to win. But yeah, I would say for the 4th spot, it's Wisconsin, A&M, Notre Dame. I think those are like the 3.
A&M, you think?
A&M if they win out because LSU's not that scary.
That Alabama loss just stays in my head.
That's their only loss, though.
But that was so bad.
It was bad, but a lot of teams lose bad to Alabama. I mean, Georgia's still getting hyped up.
Yeah, but okay, so they lost 41-24.
A&M lost 52-24.
That's pretty bad.
But it's not like they lost to Purdue or something. We lost to Alabama in week 2.
But remember, what was it? 4 or 5 years ago when Penn State was a 2-loss team, they won the Big Ten, but it was a big loss to Pittsburgh that brought them out of the playoff.
They lost They lost close to. They got killed by Michigan.
Or-
That's
okay,
what it was. Oh my
Michigan.
God, that was an
Okay.
ugly game. But the thing was, the big thing that they had was, the second loss. But the problem is there's a 12-1 Washington team right on their corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a certain circumstance. I mean, Ohio State lost to Purdue by 29 out.
Yeah.
Like, that's true. So, who knows about this committee?
It's a weird year, too. We're going to take our first break, and then we'll be back with some more college football talk, a little bit more Illinois football talk, talking about the upcoming matchup maybe with Minnesota. Stick around. Welcome back to 107.1 WPGU, and we are very excited to be talking more college football because we had some good conversation about the CFP committee, how weird this year is because we have the Pac-12 playing 6 games, you got the Big Ten playing 8, but if you miss a game, you're basically done. You have to cancel that game, as we saw with Wisconsin and Nebraska. And then we got some more Illinois talk because they're playing Minnesota this week at home, and it looks like they might have a chance. It's a battle of 0-2 teams, but who knows? Carson, back to some of the CFP talk. We were throwing out teams. I like this Georgia-Alabama conversation that we were having because first game, Alabama destroys Georgia. Alabama looks like the cream of the crop up there with Clemson. They seem like they're separating themselves, but what happens in that rematch? Because you got to think that the Georgia defense will come back better, considering they're one of the 2 or 3 best defenses in the country.
I don't trust Georgia to consistently put up points. And Saban, 22-0 against his assistants.
Do you believe that stuff?
I do because I think he knows Kirby, and I don't think Kirby's a big time coach. I feel like Kirby is Mark Richt 2.0.
He almost won a national title, though.
But he didn't. He blew it. I mean, like...
He didn't blow it. I mean, Tua came in and was phenomenal.
He got... I don't know, dude. You can only score so many points. Like, you're up 13-0 at halftime. You got to close the deal. Yeah, Tua's great, but... fine, other things. SEC title game the next year. They're up 14 against Alabama.
Yeah, that's
they
not
give
a good
up 21 consecutive points. They lose to big...
Jalen Hurts comes in.
Come on, Jalen Hurts.
He's not good with backup QBs.
We can make these excuses all the time. Like, that's the thing. Like, Mark Richt was around for 13 years. I remember looking at a stat. If you look at the first 3 years of Mark Richt and the first 3 of Kirby Smart, or the first 4, it's nearly identical. And it's very similar. Win 11 games a year, win your division, but you're going to lose the SEC title game. And I just don't trust Georgia so far. I don't think they're a tier below the Clemsons, the Alabamas. I don't see Nick Saban losing an SEC title game to Kirby Smart.
Yeah, and it's crazy that we might see basically a Clemson team that could potentially have the number one ranking throughout the season, and an Alabama team where any other year they'd probably be the number 1 team in the country. But you got Trevor Lawrence on the other side, and you got Travis Etienne on the other side, and a great Clemson defense. And it's all setting up for a great college football playoff because you also have Ohio State. You potentially have Notre Dame. Although, who knows? That 4th spot never seems to be a great team. But there's so many teams in that running for that 4th spot that it's all up in the air, and we still haven't even seen the Pac-12 yet.
We haven't seen the Pac-12. Probably won't want to watch it because they're not competitive. I don't know. I don't know. Oregon has good recruiting, so they're a plug-and-play program. Yeah, the biggest focus for me is it's probably going to be a second SEC team, or it could be Notre Dame. If Notre Dame wins this week, they practically locked up the 4th spot.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge for them because you're going up against a Clemson team that doesn't have Trevor Lawrence, and we saw what happened last week when BC very well could have beaten Clemson, and this is your chance. This is your chance. You got Ian Book at the helm. You got a good defense. You got...
At home.
Well, does home
There's still fans, and they don't have to travel.
I forget when we're thinking about Big Ten play because there's no fan. Well, there's family, but there's no real fans at Big Ten games.
Right.
And then all across the country, there's still some effect. I guess that does matter, although we'll see if that even plays a role considering how well Clemson has played throughout the season.
I just think Clemson, sometimes they like to play around. Look, I remember they lost to Syracuse. I remember 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Syracuse went 4-8.
Was that the Deshaun Watson year?
It was Kelly Bryant. So it was Kelly Bryant's year.
Okay, the Trevor Lawrence came in.
Yeah, well, I remember Deshaun Watson lost to Pitt. I mean,
yeah, that's what
that was a head scratcher. So Clemson has shown that they're vulnerable to these kind of performances.
Yeah,
but they are favorites in Vegas. I think it opened up at 4 points. Clemson. I don't know what it is right now, but if I was forced to pick one and my mom's life was on the line, I'd still take Clemson because they're a little more talented.
The defense is
usually there, and we got to remember that against Boston College, 3 of their top defensive players are out.
Yeah, and they also scored one of their touchdowns off of a 98-yard fumble return.
So Boston College, of course, they gave Clemson a scare. Clemson was clearly the better team.
Yeah.
They fell behind the 8 ball a little bit. I'm not going to take Notre Dame yet, but I wouldn't be shocked. If Notre Dame somehow won, good for them, and then they'll lose in the ACC title game.
Yeah, probably. Clemson. I mean, only Alabama seems like a team that would beat. Maybe Ohio State.
I want to say Ohio State, and I really don't have a reason why they couldn't. But
Ohio State should have beat them last year.
Last year they should have, but they had to settle for field goals. That's what killed them.
Yeah, and then that Justin Fields pick to end the game.
Justin Fields had 1 interception going into the Fiesta Bowl.
And he had 2.
He threw 2 after.
Okay.
So he finished with 3. Justin Fields looks like a monster, though. He's so efficient. Wouldn't he be so good on the Chicago Bears?
Oh, don't get me started.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine how Matt Nagy could destroy his career, too?
I mean, yeah, he's done it. He's done it already with Mitch and Nick. We'll get into the Bears a little later. But I want to switch gears a little bit and go back to the Fighting Illini. I want to talk about this upcoming Minnesota game.
I like it. I think we got a chance.
Yeah, because Minnesota, you said it earlier, their defense, concerning.
Terrible.
I mean, against Michigan, and Michigan did not look good 2 days ago. They got absolutely rolled over. And then you play Maryland, which just lost 43-3 to Northwestern, and you think they're probably the worst team in the Big Ten. Maryland comes out and wins after clutch play after clutch play in that fourth quarter. I'm wondering if Illinois got a chance, because it does feel like, hey, maybe Karan Taylor, if he makes some better decisions, if the defense can not allow a passing game to completely destroy them, they might have a shot.
That's the tough thing. I mean, Minnesota, despite their 0-2 start, they've shown a pretty good ability to throw the pigskin around. And I really don't see how Lovie Smith is going to stop Bateman. And he's not. In this game, it's going to be Illinois controlling the pace offensively. Can you run the ball with your running backs? Can Taylor not make the disastrous decision to throw it straight to a guy or fumble it on the 3-yard line? Illinois has a chance because I really liked what we saw from the tight ends. And I feel like Amadu Bebe could really be...
And we could see more, because Luke Ford hasn't done...
What is going on with Luke Ford?
I don't know.
It is criminal the way they have underplayed him. Yeah. I mean, this guy is a stud, 5-star Georgia #1 tight end. This guy should be we should treat him like Gronk. He should be getting the ball at least
he should be getting
5 receptions a game.
And he should be getting 3 targets just through the seams alone, because he's that big of a target.
And I like Barker. Barker had a great game. Yeah. Barker had 74 yards.
Yeah.
We can score. That's not the problem. The problem is this defense just is being pieced together with duct tape, and it just they can't. You can't trust them to get the final stop. And I know it's at home, doesn't really mean much, but this is a big game for Lovie Smith. I feel like Lovie Smith loses a lot of credibility if they can't win at least 3 games this year in conference play.
Totally agree.
Because this is the one thing I will give Lovie. In a normal year, we would have had Bowling Green, Illinois State, and UConn. That's 3 wins. Okay? Those are. And then just win 3 conference games, and that's 6-6. And no one would say a word. They'd be like, "Oh, good job, Lovie. Here's a contract."
Well, I think people would still be a little bit frustrated, because going into the year, we were hoping for improvement, especially with having Brandon Peters back. But obviously, it's completely different circumstances.
We would take it. We would take 6-6. But the problem is the people aren't seeing those 3 non-conference wins. So all they're going to see is Lovie Smith went 1-8 in Big Ten play. And honestly, would you bet your life savings that we're gonna for sure defeat Rutgers?
No, because Rutgers
They're improved.
They beat Michigan State, and then
Competent against Indiana.
yeah, they would have been within 10 points if
Yeah.
that crazy lateral play happened.
Like Illinois could easily go 0-9 this year. Like, do you trust them to beat Michigan State or Maryland in the Champions Week?
So the thing is, when you say going 0-9, I think that's hard because you just have games where one team's off, one team's on, and usually you luck into a game, especially if you're this Illinois team is way too good to go win.
That's what I think, but like, all right, Minnesota, we're playing with a 4-string. I think is Peters back for Nebraska on the 21st?
Is that 2 weeks?
It's on. I'm not sure when Peters is back.
Well, okay, so he has to sit for 21 days, and I believe that started on Saturday. So 1, 2. I'm pretty sure.
I think he can come back for Nebraska.
He could.
Yeah, he will. But like, we're not beating Ohio State.
Yeah,
I think the Green Party has a better chance of winning the election tomorrow than us beating Ohio State.
Yeah.
Iowa, I mean, like, yeah, Iowa's 0-2, but Iowa, we haven't scored a point at home against Iowa in 4 years. Like, we can't beat Iowa. Northwestern
we can't beat.
No,
it just feels like it.
But they own us. Like, there's not one. ESPN has us projected to lose every single remaining game. And obviously, like, I felt good with Karan Taylor after. But in the end, he still is a very inexperienced quarterback. And every game, Illinois is going to have to play a perfectly sound, all three facets game if they want to pull off an upset this year.
The good thing about this is that we're talking about how much concern we have for the secondary, but this team does generate big plays on defense. We're seeing turnovers constantly. It translates from last year where they were one of the best teams turning over in the country. And then this year, you get Wisconsin. I'm going to throw out that game because that's not even worth talking about. The Illinois football team just got destroyed. Looking at Purdue, they get two big turnovers, two crucial turnovers when Purdue was about to score. And it looks like it would have changed the game, but obviously we turned the ball over right back. And that's where this upcoming game against Minnesota has to change. You have to be able to control clock, control tempo, control security of the ball because they were able to push and move the ball against Purdue. The problem was when turnovers came up, specifically Karan Taylor making questionable decisions.
And penalties.
Yeah.
Penalties were big.
But they overcame them for the most part. I mean, they had some conversions on long third downs. I want to see improvement from this team because we were expecting more than we have seen so far.
Don't you just feel like this just feels like a lame duck coaching like career for Lovie Smith? I mean, like, can you see in a perfect world where it could, like, if you can't win this year or like just next year's not going to be good. Next year, a lot of guys are leaving. I mean, Amaner Bebe's gone, Hanson's gone, Peters is gone. Just realistically, I can never see Lovie Smith bringing Illinois to an Outback Bowl. I mean, Illinois, considering, I hate to be harsh, but irrelevant in modern day college football history, they've made 2 BCS bowls since 2000. That's more than Minnesota. That's more than Purdue. That's more than Nebraska. Nebraska hasn't made one. Wow. They made the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl. I can't see Lovie Smith bringing us back to anywhere near 8-9 games.
The thing is, I think high expectations are eight games. Like, you're not expecting to make the Rose Bowl anytime soon. And that's one of the good things, I guess, about having the job. But the thing is, you have to get past 6 wins at some point. You have to be competing every week. You can't have games like last year when Northwestern rolls over you and what you should have dominated that game.
I always felt like Lovie treated that like a Week 17 NFL game.
Exactly.
Like we already made the playoffs, i.e.
Minnesota was the playoff, basically.
Yeah. And then they just kind of like, they just breezed. I mean, like they didn't treat that like a serious game. Because I remember Lovie right after the game was, well, we're still going bowling. Yeah. Like, I just feel like there's not an urgency sometimes. Lovie Smith, it's a great guy, but right now victories need to start coming, or else like Illinois can be in some serious trouble in this division.
So Do you have concerns over whether Lovie Smith will keep his job going into next year? Because it didn't look like there were any concerns coming into the season. And after 2 games, one terrible loss, another winnable game that you lose, there are definite concerns that this might be his final year.
Lovie Smith, we all know he lives off the transfers. Can you rely on that? Like, who's going to be our next quarterback realistically in the future? Yeah, Karan's great, but Karan's not going to be leading us to a Rose Bowl. He's probably not going to be.
You don't have faith in Isaiah?
No, I don't. I don't think Isaiah is a quarterback. I think he's a wide receiver. I think he'd be a great talent. He's an athlete. I don't think he can successfully lead a Big Ten offense. And no, I don't think Lovie's the guy. I mean, in a perfect world, I would fly down to Cincinnati. I would take Luke Fickell to the nicest steakhouse in that town, and I'd give him a blank check.
Yeah.
But the problem is Illinois doesn't have the ability to lure a big, relevant name. Lovie Smith was a big name, don't get me wrong. But he was a 2-time fired NFL coach that had no other suitors.
Yeah.
There was really no competition. It was just kind of like, oh, here's a big fish. It's like what the White Sox used to do. Oh, look, we got Ken Griffey Jr., who was kind of washed up. Look, we got Manny Ramirez. It was just kind of like a big name. And I like aspects of Lovie Smith's team. Like last year was one of the most fun football seasons a 6-7 team could ever watch.
Yeah.
I mean, you beat Michigan State, you beat Wisconsin. Lovie Smith brought life into the program. And this was a great opportunity to show that Illinois isn't playing kiddie games. Like we could have been competitive in Big Ten play. But even though Wisconsin's a great football program, the way we lost that game just shows the stark difference between where Illinois needs to be.
It's concerning that we talk about looking at that Purdue game and having, all right, a little bit more of an optimistic view after a week ago because the offense finally came through. They get 24 points. They're actually moving the ball downfield. The thing is, though, if you give up 45 points, then 31 points, and you're known as a defensive head coach, that's a problem right there. It's the same problem that the Bears have with Matt Nagy, that an offensive coach should have a good offensive team. Why is it that the other end of this other side of the field is carrying? And those are so frustrating things to watch because it should be better. It should be better than that, and that's what we expect to be better.
Yeah, and I don't see Lovie giving up play calling. I mean, I feel like the thing is, what's nice about Lovie Smith is that basketball is going to take a little pressure off. Because most people are just saying, just give me the basketball season. Let's just go to the Final Four with Kofi this year. Mm-hmm. That's what most people are thinking. Yeah. And in my fraternity, I mean, nobody has ever spoken a lick about Illinois football. I don't think there's, like, I watch the games by myself because no one cares. Wow. I mean,
what about the first game?
First game, there was a little watch party. Then everyone was like, they're terrible. And then Purdue game, no hype. Basketball, everyone loves basketball. Oh, my God. Everyone's such a diehard IO fan. I mean, like, where was this 2 years ago when they were 10-20? But that's what's helping out.
You're speaking to the wrong guy. I was at that Michigan State offset. I enjoyed it.
Not you, of course. I mean, you're not a bandwagon.
Thank you.
But most people. The thing is, I think Lovie will get one more year regardless, as long as he wins 1 or 2 games. If he beats Rutgers and wins his Champions Week against Maryland, he's going to be around. Mm-hmm. But realistically, the clock's running out. Lovie Smith will be a fired head coach someday. And the point is, Illinois, you don't have a secure replacement plan. I mean, you're just going to have to get lucky with a MAC coach. That's pretty much the logistics of it. So, I don't know. It's up to Whitman. I mean, he's the one making the big decisions.
Yeah, and you bring up, like, the idea of going after Luke Fickell or one of these coaches.
They couldn't get him.
And it reminds me a lot of how Illinois tried to get Tony Bennett. Granted, it's a different situation, but
Shaka Smart couldn't get him either.
Yeah, the basketball team had more cachet than this football team, but you have to be a dominant winning program at some point to be able to lure these great players. It's the reason why Nebraska can still get good coaches, because at one time they did have success.
Oh, Nebraska, yeah.
Illinois hasn't had sustained success in 70 years?
80s were fine. I mean, like 80s, we were probably like Iowa.
Yeah.
in the 90s. Like, we'd win 8 games, but that's long gone. I mean, we've had, a handful of winning seasons since the 90s. The biggest problem is, you're just going to have to get lucky. And I mean, but like, look at what Purdue did. They went down to Western Kentucky, and he found a coach that had a long track record of success. Jeff Brom was good at Western Kentucky. He developed quarterbacks. He was scoring.
Yep.
Lovey didn't have a track record in college.
Yeah. And it's a completely different
knucklehead who got fired before Bill Cubit? The guy who's Tim Beckman. He had a couple good seasons at Toledo. Okay. Yeah. But like, that's the thing. You just really got to carefully examine these things. I mean, like PJ Fleck. Illinois could have got PJ Fleck. Any of these Big Ten teams could have got PJ Fleck. Oh, yeah. He wanted to go to Purdue, but Purdue was like, no, we got Jeff Brom.
Yeah, and I guess Minnesota was probably around the same range as Illinois at that point.
No, Minnesota fired Tracy Claeys and then hired him in January. Like, it wasn't even during the coaching carousel. I mean, everyone passed on PJ Fleck.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of Illinois, I credit Whitman. He likes to get the big name. That was a huge hire. You fire Cubit first day on the job, first couple days you get Lovey. But I feel like Whitman has to go more of a traditional route of either you get a really good mid-level coach who has a sustained track record, or maybe you got to change it up. Maybe you got to find a coach. Have you ever seen the movie Moneyball?
Oh, it's my favorite movie.
I love Brad Pitt. I'm a sucker for Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill in that movie.
They're so good. The Twinkie scene, everything. They knew what they had. They're not like, if you look at Illinois, okay, our state's not that great for recruiting. We don't have a history, so let's change it up. Let's run the triple option. Let's run kind of different offenses to offset your weaknesses. It's going to be difficult, but that's what Illinois has to do if they want to become a consistent bowl contender.
Yeah, and it looks like a long road ahead after what has already turned into a disappointing season, and we're only 2 games in, and we're already talking about this team potentially only winning 1 or 2 games on the season.
It's weird though, because I felt good that Illinois isn't completely inept, that there is some talent. I just don't think Lovie Smith might not be the guy.
He might not be, and his success has always been in the NFL, and even that has been basically 10 years removed.
Yeah.
So who knows? We're going to take our second break, and we'll be back to give some NFL talk, and then finish out the show with some college basketball as, my voice is starting to lose it, as the Fighting Illini know who they're playing in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, and we are very excited about that. We'll be right back. We are back on 107.1 WPGU Illini Drive. Nithin, Reddy, and Carson Gourdie are here to talk some NFL. And should we just dive right into the Bears?
Let's go.
I was texting my friends last night, and it was basically just me yelling the whole time through text, the closest thing you can get to it, because this is the most frustrating 5-3 team I've ever cheered for. And I've been cheering for the Bears my entire life, where we've never had a good offense. And this one just takes it to the max, because this defense is a top 5 defense in the league, and they are not producing like it on the other side of the end. And Carson, I'm going to just let you take over, because I could go on a full rant about just my emotional state right now with the Bears.
Good thing I'm not the biggest diehard Bears fan, so I'll give a more objective approach.
I think that's what we need.
They stink. They're they are probably one of the worst 5-3 teams in the history of the NFL. Mm-hmm. But they're not void of talent. I mean, I think it's a very easy fix. The Bears have a good foundation. Sorry, I got to cough real quick.
Yeah.
They got the defense is good. I don't know about Nagy. 2 years ago I thought Nagy. I honestly thought Nagy Trubisky was one of the best 1-2 punches in football.
See, I liked the way Trubisky played 2 years ago, but there was always this thing in the back of my mind, like, he's still missing throws that he should make. And obviously that's one of the big reasons why he got benched and Foles came in. But Foles, there's his immobility, which has definitely hurt this team because the O-line is terrible. And there's also just the fact that he doesn't seem comfortable with this offense yet. And Nagy seems like he's going to keep running these short routes, these checkdowns, And at some point, the defense figures, hey, we can just keep getting closer. We can
Stack the box.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the run game hasn't worked at all, too.
I know. I've always said this with Nagy. I feel like he doesn't have Roethlisberger. You know, he doesn't have a Rodgers who can throw the ball 45 times and win. You know what I mean? Like, the Bears need a running game to open it up because Trubisky wasn't capable, and he's shown. And Nick Foles, in all seriousness, is a career backup quarterback. He needs help.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be great if, like, you had a Le'Veon Bell talent who could get you triple digits every game. But that's the biggest problem with the Bears. It's a lack of consistency offensively, and I don't think it's going to change.
3 plays summarized the entire Bears experience yesterday, and that was the Bears got a first down after a great throw to Allen Robinson in overtime, 3 straight incompletions, including 2 drops. 2 straight incompletions, which were both drops, and then a sack. And at that point, you know, as a Bears fan, you're not winning that game. Best case scenario, you're probably tying the game. You're not winning that game.
It stinks because the defense stepped up, stopped Drew Brees, got the ball back.
They're phenomenal throughout the game. The fact that the Saints only scored 26 points in, 57 minutes, 58 minutes, is incredible.
Yeah.
Is incredible because they should have had no fight that entire second half. They had that one drive where it looked like the defense kind of gave up on the offense and the Bears ended up going down 10 points. But that was a winnable game that you just have to win every single time. The fact that it was 13-3, and then there's that late touchdown, it was fluky, but you're only up 3 at halftime when your offense finally feels like they're clicking is telling.
It is. And then where do the Bears go, though, from here? I mean, like, you got to stick with Foles, right?
I don't know. I mean, at this point, I was one of the people that said, you know, I don't want Trubisky starting for this team because I just don't think he's a good quarterback. But at least with Trubisky, you get certain looks. You get a guy that can roll out. And
he's more athletic.
Yeah, that can keep plays alive. And with Foles, it just feels like he's getting hit or he's throwing off his back foot every play because this O-line is not doing the job. And frankly, I don't expect them to get any better.
Okay, if I came up to you before the season and I said, what would you rather have? 9-7, and you lose the first game in the playoffs, or you go 3-13 and get Justin Fields?
3-13 easily.
Exactly.
3-13. Give me a chance to get Trevor Lawrence. Give me a chance to trade up for Trevor Lawrence. I'm taking that in a heartbeat. The problem is, as a fan, you can't just say like, "Let's lose games." It's one of those things that's hard with tanking.
It's like 1 year of success. You could have traded it for a whole generation of success.
No, it's very logical. Yeah. I understand that, but the fan side in me says like...
And the player side, they're not going to lose on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Either. It's similar to what happened with like the Philadelphia 76ers during the process. They're trying to win games. So management just gets worse and worse players because they realize these guys want to win games. They're playing in the NBA and they're getting a chance to show how good they are. This is a little different because the Bears actually have tremendous talent on both sides of the field. It's just one side is excelling and one side is doing absolutely nothing.
What kind of assets do you think they have that would make teams interested in trading with the Bears? I mean, like, do you think the Bears
Allen Robinson.
Do you think the Bears should try to try to draft a new quarterback, or do you think they should try to sign a free agent?
I don't love signing free agent quarterbacks because best case scenario, you get a Teddy Bridgewater type.
Or a Kirk Cousins. I mean, like,
which I feel like is in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
And that's not the answer. I mean, ideally, you go after a Justin Fields, a Trevor Lawrence, even like a Kyle Trask who potentially could have a high ceiling. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going to happen with this team, and I don't trust Nagy or Pace really anymore.
Oh, Pace is overstayed his welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's been here forever.
I mean, it was basically dependent on Trubisky, and Trubisky's failed.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, 2 years ago, wonderful Bears season. Super entertaining, great defense. Parkey ruined it, and you got to move on.
Yeah, did you see him this week?
Yeah, I did.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was. But it's tricky. The Chicago Bears, they are stuck in a rut, and you got Minnesota. Minnesota's not bad.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about the Vikings.
No, Minnesota's not bad. They are talented. I mean, like, super. You don't know where you're
They're always talented, though. I just don't know if they're good.
I know Nagy's 4-0 against the Vikings, but Do you honestly
That is
think the
crazy.
Bears are going to beat the Vikings?
I mean, they might. The thing is, the Bears have beaten up on bad teams. They're just losing to good teams. And they're clearly worse than these good teams. They've lost to Saints, Rams, Colts. All, I think, playoff teams, or at least borderline
The
playoff
Colts
teams.
game was brutal. I don't
Colts
think
game was brutal.
they just couldn't.
The Rams
move
game was
ball.
brutal, too. And the
Rams
thing,
was, yeah, you're right.
but you're winning against the Panthers, the Falcons, I don't even know if I should count that. But the Panthers, the Falcons.
Do you know I lost
Lions.
$20 on that game?
How'd you lose $20?
So Bears were what, 2.5-point dogs?
Yeah.
I took the Falcons. I bet $20.
That's a bad beat. That is a bad.
And with 6 minutes left, I was bragging to everybody.
Could've
I'm
cashed
such
out.
a genius. Look at me. And then, Nick Foles decided to play like a Super Bowl MVP again. That killed me.
That's right.
Maybe that's why I don't like the Bears. No, but no, the Falcons count. You know, like you look at their victories. I'm looking at their victories right now. 4 points over the Lions. Solid team. But
They should have
Giants,
lost that game. Giants is
4 points.
That
They
was-
could have lost that game.
yeah. I don't think they scored in the second half.
Falcons make that field goal to make it 29-10. I don't think they come back and win.
Bucks though, that's a weird one.
Bucks was awesome. Bucks
It was a great
like,
feeling. Yeah,
This is 2018 again. I mean, that was fun. I mean, like
the offense wasn't good, but still,
no, you
they
shut
did
down
enough.
Brady.
They got the game-winning field goal drive.
Yeah,
And yeah, Tom Brady puts up the 4, and everyone's excited in Chicago.
exactly.
It's just
Brady's great this year. That is a great win. I mean, like if this was the college football playoff. That's like that's your number one resume. I
Yeah.
mean, like that is a good quality win.
that's your Oklahoma over Baylor win.
I was impressed with Panthers. I know they only won by a score against the Panthers, but they controlled.
They
that
controlled
game.
it throughout the game, but then
That was never in doubt.
then you get 3 straight games that are important games. You get the Rams, Saints, Titans, and you're hoping 1-2, 2-1 in that stretch.
Okay, well, let's say they beat the Titans. They're 6-3. They could beat the Titans. The
could.
Titans are, what are they? They just lost to Joey Burrow.
I mean, the Titans have been pretty good though this year.
I know they lost 2 in a row.
That is true. I mean, they lost to the Steelers one of those games though.
Steelers are good.
Steelers are undefeated. They better be good.
they're pretty good. But I think the Bears actually have a chance against the Titans. The key is,
Well,
it's hard to like tell your defense like, hey, you better not give up more than 13 points.
yeah,
I mean,
you can't do that.
no, it's not fair.
And you're getting to the point where defense has to score touchdowns, and that's a
You know,
problem.
if they don't get the turnovers, they don't generate opportunities for the offense. But this is what you expect. I mean, like most people shouldn't. What do you think the Bears coming in this year? What do you think they were
9
going
and
to do?
7.
You did, and
9-7
they probably will
maybe.
go 9-7. What
Probably.
they got 5 wins right now.
They might go 10-6, honestly, without beating anyone good.
They get to play the Texans.
Except
Deshaun
the
Watson could win that. Deshaun Watson's talented enough to win any game.
I do love me some Deshaun.
He's great. Jaguars, you should win that game.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, so I look at the schedule. There's 2 for sure wins. I mean, like, but they can beat the Lions. They can beat the Vikings. This is probably a playoff team. They could get a.
They're
7
probably
seed.
7 seed.
But that's not good enough.
That isn't.
And
It's not good enough when you have a defense that looks like they're basically 2018 minus some of the turnovers.
yeah,
That's a problem.
it is a problem.
Any other games looking around that you enjoyed?
And then catching my eye.
Eagles Cowboys, a lot of terrible.
Oh my God, Mike McCarthy, man. I mean, like
Poor guy.
he just can't catch a break.
He's
and
just not
Green
a-
Bay's just thriving without him. I mean, Jets dumpster fire.
Yeah,
Just-
I mean, we're just waiting for Gates. to
I
get
honestly
fired.
think Adam Gase is the worst coach in NFL history, just because of how toxic he is.
What about? Oh crap! What was the Browns coach?
Which one?
The one that went 1-31.
Oh, Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson's up
Okay,
there.
Hugh Jackson was a stand up man. I mean, like you look at Adam Gase, he's just not a likable person.
That is true.
And also, Adam Gase never played a significant down of football in his life. You know,
Okay,
he was a grad assistant at Michigan State. That's where he got his start. I just feel like that guy can't command respect, and he's always just got
Ugh, that's never something you want to hear.
just a mean grin on his face. I don't trust Adam Gase. That guy's going to be the next Alabama offensive coordinator probably or something.
Fair enough. All right, we got 2 minutes left in the show. Carson, I want to talk quickly. Illinois basketball. It was announced that they're going to Cameron Indoor Stadium December 8th. How excited are you for that team? I mean, this season we're already so excited for because they look like a top 10 team. But going to Cameron Indoor, although, come on, Coach K, come to Champaign and play. But we'll take it.
I'll take it. Don't think there's going to be Cameron crazies.
No, definitely
It's
not.
going to be a different atmosphere. I mean, it's going to be very interesting with basketball. I mean, like, okay, like Io's shooting free throws. Who's going to make noise to try to distract them? Not the fans, because there are none.
The speakers are.
No, they can't do that.
No, they're going to be pumping in crowd noise.
They can do that with free throws?
Well, yeah.
Oh, that's so not fair.
They did that with the bubble.
Did they?
Yeah.
Right. Crap.
So they're going to definitely be pumping in noise.
It's going to be a top 10 battle. I mean, this is going to be such a good game.
And we legitimately feel like we could win that game, which is the most exciting part.
Why not? I mean, there's no reason why Illinois can't win. I mean, like, yeah, it'd be great to have Alan Griffin, but it's still...
Oh, man, I'm going to miss Alan Griffin.
Yeah, I know. Alan Griffin's super efficient, but stuff happens.
But
but Illinois is going to be great. And if they lose, they lose. It's not that big of a deal. You can, like...
Don't say that, Carson.
No, this is better. Like, I'd rather play Duke than just play Illinois State and Eastern Illinois.
That is true.
Like this,
but you can't go in with that mindset. If we lose, we lose. Come on, we're going to go in there and beat Duke.
We're going to beat Duke. How about that?
There we go. And then there's going to be Baylor Gonzaga at the start of the season.
Oh, that's such a good game. The Zags are good. Zags are national title contenders.
Zags are always good, yeah.
They might make their second Final Four finally.
Man,
college basketball cannot come soon enough. I think that's the thing that these, like, no more Cams, no more Lion. Just give us Io and Kofi. I mean, that would do such wonders for this campus.
Yeah, give me some Adam Miller, some Andre Curbelo.
Exactly. The future's bright for Illinois
DeMonte
basketball.
Williams with his great defense.
I've been saying that forever. I used to get crap for that all the time. I love DeMonte.
Oh, DeMonte's great.
Great defense.
He just doesn't score. That's the difference.
You know, at the end of the year, he started making a couple threes.
He did.
He was scoring 5 points a game. That's all he needs.
Yeah. I mean, you got great pieces around. We haven't even mentioned Trent Frazier, who could go off for 30 any game.
He might shoot 25%. He might shoot 50%.
He might shoot 70% from three in a game, honestly. So excited. Basketball, 23 days away. It can't come any sooner.
No, it can't.
This is the end of the show for Illini Drive 107.1 WPGU. I'm Nithin Reddy alongside Carson Gourdie.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to do this again. This was fun.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to vent about the Bears some more. Until next time, Brendan's going to be back Wednesday. Till next time, once again.